Journey Through a Distant Land, The Metaphysical Articles of the Individuality, written by Javon Lately, MB, Article 1.3, Reading 7. Continuation. This freedom of choice is not as superficial as one may think. It is viewed by many as the ability to decipher between good and evil, and to make decisions. This is part of freedom of choice, but not the whole. Seeing freedom of choice only in this light will stifle the ability to use this faculty, leaving man living in lower levels of consciousness. The true freedom of choice is a creative power that allows one to bring into existence spiritual beings that either help to create or help to destroy. These beings are alive and does things in the universe, and they can only be in two forms. The first form is positive in nature. It is constructive and good. It is connected to the true self creator. This positive form helps to bring about the true self's will. It is as if this form has resonated from the true self himself. It adds to the universe beauty, love, and divine intelligence, and this kind of form is permanent, and it stands out before the true self as a great diamond that cannot be overlooked for anything in the world. The next form is negative in nature. It is destructive and evil, and it is heavily connected to Satan and his false image that he brought into the world, which is the false personality. This breaks down and does not build up. This creates ugliness in the universe and hatred. This brings a vain thing, which is strange, a feature of vain temporary knowledge, yet not divine intelligence. This earthly knowledge is very temporal, but lingers from generation to generation. It also stands before the true self as a burning coal, an irritating itch that has to be eradicated. Both of these beings that mankind nourishes, whether it be either Satan or the true self, is stored in a spiritual invisible reservoir called the collective consciousness. This collective consciousness is made up of all the deeds that mankind materialized. From every man or woman who was ever created, anyone who was ever born and had existence on earth until this very day. All those who made choices and acted them out through their physical bodies or through mental concepts and ideals, whether good or evil. These entities that mankind continues to create and bring into existence are breathing living creatures, belonging and connected to each individual from which it came. The newly formed entity has the written signature of that individual stamped into its very existence, and that individual has to give account for its creation, seeing that that particular person is the originator. These ideals or entities that have accumulated in the collective consciousness are then stored and passed to the next generation. This is splendidly exhibited and seen in the very fact of our modern computer databases that have collected data that is stored inside the computer's memories from a series of different programmers who perform the necessary actions to install them there. This collective field of information is now a database of knowledge. This process of advancement is that which had to come into existence. For as above, so also is below. If the human family in the next generation collects these ideals, those individuals would manifest the same ideals that have been previously established in the pre-generation. Beware that there is another great danger that exists. Due to the nature of mankind's fallen state, human beings have been blinded from seeing invisible concepts. This is because of our eyes, being yet covered by flesh, are prohibited from seeing this reality. Not only this, but there are unseen, malignant, invisible beings that are constantly communicating with mankind, suggesting evil concepts in the hope to convince them to perform evil, sinful acts. since mankind has a creative power that they do not possess. Hithertofore, in the actual world, these beings entice mankind to add more and more evil concepts to the collective consciousness. Now, by adding a cornucopia or superabundance of negative actualized concepts to the collective consciousness of mankind, the people in that same generation and the next after it will be more apt or have more probabilities of uniting with nefarious ideas and concepts. The people in this last generation will have to dig deep within the collective consciousness, toward the ground by the sweat of his or her brow, if you will, to see the holy concepts and ideals that are now buried deep within this reservoir. To recapitulate, we presently have at this moment a cornucopia of nefarious unholy ideals / entities made of gravity, built from concepts, and we also have a restricted amount of holy ideals produced from concepts made of anti-gravity. Lo and behold, if a man or woman does procure a holy idea received as a concept from the previous generation, this man or woman would have obtained something that is airborne, that works against gravity, that would raise that individual from the finite to the infinite, raising this person out of the collective consciousness into the spiritual consciousness. This can be understood in the physical world by our modern space rockets that blast through our atmosphere, rockets that can rise through the law of gravity, a spacecraft that is airborne. This is an analogy which shows the transformation that takes place in one's consciousness, from mortality to immortality. This individual will hear and see things at this level of existence, and if returned, that person would not be able to articulate what he or she saw and heard in this higher realm. But there is nothing on the physical earth that these revelations could be compared to. This individual who has penetrated through this veil, which is likened to the physical Van Allen belts that have an inner and outer radiation belt that represents the two veils of the tabernacle that must be traversed, that individual at that moment of flight would have forfeited the false personality and became the true individual that the true self has formed. The false personality is of the flesh, bound to the collective consciousness, and no flesh and blood can live in these higher heavens or states of being without being pneumatic in essence, formed by a regenerated mind. Unfortunately, when and if the person returns to the physical earth ruled by Satan, the master manipulator of the collective consciousness, that person will become now a stranger to the physical earth. For Satan will notice a glitch in the system of the collective consciousness. Satan, who is represented on this earth as the all-seeing eye, will notice that that person he used to have enslaved in his image, which is the false personality, has now left the false personality and incorporated the true individual. Now Satan will use all who are still partaking in the collective consciousness that are only connecting with the evil earthly concepts to rise up against these very few individuals. Satan does this in the hope of choking the person who is now the true individual, which has no earthly power or status, right out of this matrix. For now, that person would have acquired a light that is a blinding factor in the one eye of Satan, the adversary. For Satan, who is represented as the all-seeing eye, which is singular, has only one eye since his fall. He can no longer see as clearly as he did when he was in the higher heavens. This new heavenly light causes agitation within this evil creature, the person who has evolved by sacrificing all of the false personality will bring back to the physical earth divine holiness. And an open line of communication with the divine word of power, who is the inscrutable Father, the creator of the heavens and of the earth. Now, some of you are still confused about what exactly is this false personality and what is the true individual, even though I have given very great references to it. The false personality that is in you at this very moment It's giving you negative thoughts against the veracity of what is being said about the false personality and the true individuality. Let's try this. Let us move to a more pronounced method that has the appearance of carnal intellect, but I can assure you that it's not. This method is only being used to create a small incision in the false personality to promote more understanding to this junction. Now, let's divide the word personality and see what happens. Per, which is short for per se, meaning in itself. Son, notice how it is son, not sun, S-U-N. Son, that created being who is you. The L is an adverb that describes an action or state of being, while the T is short for reality. So then, we have the false personality indicated as a false reality of oneself, who is you, the son, in the you inside. Now, let's dissect the true individuality. In is short for inside. Divi is short for the divine that's in you. Dual is for the duality, for you and the Father, together as one. The T is for reality. So then, now, we have the true individuality as the true divine that's inside of you. The shared or dual reality of the presence of you and the Father together. I hope this has enabled you to penetrate that biological organism that is wrapping around. Now, at this moment, we feel that it is necessary that we should elaborate on the true reality of words to have a real understanding of the nature of words. For some of you do not realize how powerful they are. The very words that are coming right out of the very mouths of mankind are ready-made powers that cause great movements in the universe. When we talk about words, we must understand how they were formed. Now, I could start this off by telling you that words are formed by letters, and all of you who are reasonable would agree, but we have a problem of continuing our conversation. In order for me to begin, I would have to explain where these letters come from, and where did the sound of these letters come from. This explanation could be easily articulated, but I am talking to a generation of scientists and atheists that believes in the Big Bang Theory. If I say to you that the Big Bang created the letters, then it would sound so insane that I would be forced to abandon this conversation. Not only from the spirit that's in me, but even you would have questions about how did this Big Bang Theory or theory of evolution would have created such a thing. You would say, who decided how these letters are pronounced? Who gave these letters their shape and form? Who organized their formations to the point that they can form sentences? Now, before I continue this colloquy, I would like to explain something that would prove to be very relevant in this dialogue. When the great man, not only of this generation, but even the past generations extracted their information, they appeared to extract their information from the basic instructions before leaving Earth. It seems as they took this book as an instruction manual and a scroll of human history about the world and the universe. With this, I agree. With this, I agree with the intelligentsia. They will be right in this case. Let us take this for instance. The world deluge is indicated in this scroll, and scientists now in our generation have proven it. Scientists have also proven many more axioms that are present in the divine manual. Now here's the annotation. When it comes to the way that the world and the universe is created, it is not understood. It is not understood or accepted that a creator has formed this universe. In this case, it would be even impossible for mankind to accept that a creator created the word or letters for that matter. Now, this leads us to the foregoing. Regardless of the fact some of you would not believe this divine axiom, I will articulate this notion fully aware of its rejection. The creator of heaven and earth created the word. This is his image that he chose to represent himself. For in his unmanifested state, he is inscrutable, incomprehensible, and cannot be seen or understood. This word has a particular shape and form. This word has a particular shape and form of a man, but without flesh and blood. This form of a man is invisible to the physical eyes and could only be seen in the mind that is connected with the mind of this form. This form is of the concepts of man, not with the physical movement of man. Unless this form takes on flesh and blood that will make it at that time visible to the fleshly, physical eyes. End of reading 7.